Backwards Moon, Chapter 3. Neither Nettle nor Bracken had ever actually talked to a wolf, and even spotting one was never easy. Bracken thought they would be easiest to find in the meadows, but she and Nettle had flown all day and not seen one. Wolves were clever that way. Nettle thought they'd be on the bare rock slopes below the peaks, but Bracken said they weren't there, obviously. Did she see any? What would be so wrong with just flying up closer? Said Nettle. It's late, said Bracken, in that annoying I'm older voice that she sometimes used. We have to get home. We do not, said Nettle. Aunt Iris won't even remember we're gone. And besides, we wasted all day looking where they weren't. Now let's go where I wanted to go. Oh, all right, said Bracken. So they flew up higher. See, said Bracken finally. Now let's go home. She turned around and skimmed toward the village. Nettle took one last look at the slopes, then she stopped, hovering. Bracken, wait, she called. Bracken made a graceful swoop around. Look there, said Nettle, pointing. Two tiny, distant shapes were making their way, very slowly down the slope. Those aren't wolves, said Bracken, staring. They're walking on two legs, and they're wearing trousers. Nettle caught her breath. Bracken, do you think they might be? She glanced at her cousin, hardly daring to hope. Bracken shook her head. They're not wood folk. They can't be. Look at the way they move. So slow and heavy. Nobody would move like that. Oh, said Nettle dully. She felt sick with disappointment. I would know wood folk if I saw them, said Bracken quietly. I would know them instantly. Nettle squeezed her eyes tightly shut and rubbed them with her sleeve. Then she stared again at the slope. The tiny figures plodded steadily lower, picking their way around boulders and edging across falls of broken, loose stone. A rock dislodged by their feet clattered down the mountainside, the sound echoing across the vast landscape. Nettle, those are humans, said Bracken. They can only be humans. Nettle started to stare at her. But how could one get in? Something must have gone wrong with the veil. But how? I don't know, said Bracken fiercely. They hovered, staring. Maybe we should go back and tell the others. I want to see one, said Nettle. They can't see us. What's the harm? Come on, she said, and flew toward them. Nettle, said Bracken, but she followed. A shrill cry sounded above them. Cree, cree, cree! A hawk circled high in the sky, peering down at the humans. They were men, both of them. They had big, heavy-looking bundles on their backs and wore odd little caps with brims like duckbills. And their feet were not bare, like witches' feet. Their toes were trapped in what? Boots, Nettle thought they were called. Nettle leaned down. Humans, she called. The walkers stopped. Their eyes, which were a strange pale blue, not the deep violet blue of witches' eyes, looked toward the sound, unseeing. Did you hear that? Cried one. His hair was the color of sand. The two humans peered upward nearsightedly, like moles. Yes, said the other, bigger one. Did it sound like a voice? Asked the sandy-haired one. Sort of a high voice, like a girl's voice. They can't see us, whispered Nettle. They really can't. It was amazing, being invisible. She liked it. Listen, said Sandy Hair, stopping. It's like ghosts, he muttered. That's ridiculous, said Big One. But now they walked faster, glancing all around. Humans, said Nettle again, but this time she had switched to the language, the silent way of talking, like thoughts traveling that you use when you talk with animals. Oh, humans, she called again in the language, but they only hurried forward. Hello, said Nettle in the language. Her skin prickled. It was odd, not being seen or heard. Check the GPS again, said the first human suddenly. Big One pulled out a little flat box. What's that thing he's holding? Said Nettle in the language. She hovered nearer, trying to see. It must be one of their inventions, replied Bracken in the language. With his thumb, Big One jabbed at the box. This makes no sense. It's like this valley isn't even on the map. There's still only this blank, blurry space. Really? Said Sandy Hair. Could it be out of satellite range? I don't see how. Big One jammed the box again, then stuck it in its pocket before Nettle had time to see. Drat, she muttered. There's something creepy about this valley, said Sandy Hair. I think we should turn back. But it's so beautiful, said Big One softly. He gazed out over the vast sweep of forest and meadow to distant waterfalls that hung like white threads against the cliffs. I've hiked all over the world, he said slowly. And I've never seen wilderness like this. Never. The hawk's high, shrill call sounded again. It swooped lower, hovered near Nettle and Bracken, and glared at them with its fierce yellow-ringed eyes. "What's wrong with you two? What are you waiting for? Get rid of them!" "Get rid of them?" said Nettle, gaping. The hawk nodded grimly.